Okay, let's start this Uniface lecture. The Uniface lecture of today is about developing mobile applications using Uniface. Before I actually kick this off, some rules. The PowerPoint that you are about to see will be made available on a SlideShare. The recording of this session will be on YouTube probably somewhere next week. And if I say next week, it basically means most likely the end of next week. If you have questions regarding this presentation, use the forums, or if you really have burning questions during the presentation, feel free to ask your questions using the chat box. The chat box will be monitored by product management, and they will, as good as they can, address your questions and comments. The Uniface 9702 will be available early next month. I'm using Uniface 9702 during the presentation, so you will see a glimpse of it as well. My name is Berry Kuijer-Saat. I've been working as a Uniface consultant now for about 20 years. So what can you expect about the presentation today? We will first cover a little bit the strategy we have chosen to follow with Uniface, and the strategy mainly boils down to make a choice between web, going hybrid, or going native. The next part of this presentation will show you some points of attention about how to develop for mobile devices with Uniface, and actually how to build a mobile app. We use an external service for that to actually generate a mobile app. Then there's a little intermezzo giving you some details, not too many details, about the design, and I will wrap it up with a short demonstration about the development of a mobile application. So let's first focus our attention on the strategy, and as you can see probably on the slide, the development of mobile apps actually means that we build in a hybrid way. Hybrid apps are based on HTML, on JavaScript, and they very well fit in the Uniface strategy of high productivity and technology independence. It is very much accepted in the marketplace to develop hybrid applications to be deployed on mobile devices. There is still a debate going on, that is clearly, but when you look at the statement coming from Forrester, which says 95% of the functionality for 50% of the delivery cost, for me that makes sense to go hybrid. There are more advantages when you build applications in a hybrid way. You can reuse your business logic. So if you have developed your business logic in services, it is rather easy to access these Uniface services from DSPs. You can use multiple client types. Building an application actually means building a responsive application, so it quite easily fits on different screen sizes. It quite easily fits on different devices. So a little bit about the roadmap, the way we want to go. 3 phases. Delivery approach has been chosen in Uniface. Phase 1 is the responsive Web GUI. You already could do that using Uniface 9.6 with 9.702. Of course, that is still available, and that enables a browser access from any device. And because you build responsive, you have a very acceptable application. The next step, phase 2, and we are sort of almost completing that one, is make an installable hybrid mobile app, and that will be delivered by Uniface 9702. It enables the installation in a mobile device, so it also enables the distribution of the mobile application using an app store. The next phase, we still are in discussion about the delivery. The most important thing is the offline storage. Think about a little bit about Facebook, where you nowadays can upload pictures when you're offline, and that will be automatically synchronized whenever you are going online. So the solution, a little bit more details, and this is already a sort of recap of the whole presentation, is Uniface generates the required output and uploads it to a third-party build service. I will show you that during a demonstration as well. So what you actually do, you build your dynamic server page, you develop your startup shell. The startup shell contains all the information that is needed to generate the mobile app, and all that information is uploaded to a service that builds the mobile app for you. So what do you need as a customer? Of course, at least Uniface 9702. And if you choose to use the Bulldozer service, you need an account with Bulldozer. The developer accounts will Apple and Google, of course, if you want to put your app in an app store. For now, we support both Android and the Apple platform. Let's go into a little bit more details about the development. Basically, when you develop for mobile applications, you develop for the web. So I'm not going to go into too many details about the web development, and what I will do is I will point out some handy things that you should do when you start building these applications. There we go. When you start Uniface, the GUI shows some predefined environments, mobile, web and desktop, and mobile actually allows you to get directly access to all the objects that you might need for mobile development. The same is true for web, where you get access to web development objects. The layout editor, which is quite important when you develop for the mobile applications for small devices, because you have to sort of a small screen. So using a layout editor as efficient as possible can be very handy. And this is the one that pops up by default. However, there is another option, that is the source editor. For me personally, I prefer to use this source editor, showing me two tab pages. One layout tab page showing me just plain HTML, and I can do whatever I want to do in this HTML, and the other tab showing the proc, the proc script that is executed during the execution of the application. So I think this is the handy thing to use. Compiling and testing initially, there is no difference with the web. When you initially develop your DSP, you compile it and you test it as you used to do. So it pops up with the default URL that can be predefined using your default browser that has been defined in your preferences for testing. There's nothing new over here. The same is true when we talk about configuration. There's nothing new in the area of configuration, except that you need a license to develop mobile apps, but it still works with assignment files, ini files, web request dispatcher, the uRouter and the uServer processes. So also in this area, no new things. It is very straightforward. When you develop for the mobile devices, you should consider to use templates. Templates can be made, just in this example, just for buttons, but also DSPs that are really geared for mobile devices. So you can just include a lot of HTML, like frameworks that cover the responsiveness of your application. So if you never use templates, consider it again for developing mobile applications. They can be very productive and very handy. The other aspect that I will to mention, and it was the previous lecture that covered this topic in detail, is there is a JavaScript API that allows you to use JavaScript to address and manipulate Uniface objects, data, components, and so on and so forth. You need to have some knowledge about JavaScript, that is true, but once you've done that, you can implement much behavior, especially at the client side, and I will also give a short demonstration of that at the end of this presentation. When it comes to development, you automatically think about debugging and about testing. There are many levels on testing, of course. You can develop your DSP and directly test it, but you can also develop your DSP and use browser-based debuggers to test your application. There are many options. Each browser sort of does have his own browser-based debugger. So please dive into the details about your preferred browser to see how that browser-based debugger works. Some browser-based debuggers allows for the emulation of mobile applications. They even might let you select a device and set network-specific settings to check how this form or this DSP actually behaves in a browser environment. Like this little example, this is a network, regular 4G selected, an Apple iPhone 6, and this is the way the application looks like. By the way, this is the application that I will show you at the end of this presentation. Another way of testing your application is using your previewer app. You're still working in the development environment and you really want to know what it looks like on your mobile device. What you can do is generate from the development environment this QR code and use your previewer app to scan the code, and this automatically will pick up this DSP and implement it as an app on your mobile device. So you get a good look and feel about the way your mobile application should behave once it's going to be deployed.